Okay, or problem number three, and it's sort of like a recurring theme over here. Read the problem, write down what you're looking for, and try to get a relationship between those things that you're looking for. So it says, divide 197 into two parts. And, certainly just thinking about it, if I took the number 197 into two parts, I'm going to say, oh, I don't know what the two parts are, but there's two parts. And when I add those two parts together, you should get 197, right? What else do they go on to say? They start giving these things names, and they say smaller and greater. So what I'm going to say is I'm going to say x is less than y, which means y is the greater and x is the smaller. All right? So what do? They took a number, 197, divided into two parts. X plus y is 197. And they said that one is smaller and one is larger. Of course, as I read this, I want to make sure I understand what I've read. And, again, the number's been divided into two parts. There's a smaller part and a greater part. What did they say? Such that the smaller, what's the smaller? The smaller is x, shall be contained in the greater. Well, it's going to be small. It's contained in the greater 5 times with the remainder of 23. Wow. So that's a really tough one, right? So it says, over here, it says, the smaller shall be contained in the greater 5 times with the remainder of 23. So what do I get? I get 5x plus 23. And that's going to be equal to the greater. Let's read that again, make sure I understood what he said. We divided the number 197 into two parts, such that the smaller shall be contained in the greater 5 times with the remainder of 23. That's a tough thing to read, isn't it? But I think we got it. And what do we have? We have this, and we have this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a substitution. And the substitution is going to be, it's pretty clear at this point. I'm going to take this letter y, which is identical to this, and substitute it to the first equation. And what do you get? X plus y, 5x plus 23 is going to be 197. And what do you get? You get 6x plus 23 equals 197. 6x equals, well, let's just say I have to subtraction, right? So 174. X goes in. Let's see. I got to divide 6 into 174, right? Let me write this on the side for you. Now, again, sometimes I'm going to use a calculator, or I do this in my head. Doesn't matter. However you do it. What do you get over here? 2 times 6 is 12. And then you get 54. And that would be 9. 9 times 6 is 54, right? I'm sorry, 29. Then someone says, how do you get the x? I'm sorry, how do you get the y? Plug it in anywhere you like. I would probably plug it in here. And the reason is that it looks pretty easy. X is 29. So you take 29 from 197, and that would be 168. So y is 168. So what are the two numbers? 168 and 29. I see them written over here. Now, by the way, a lot of times what happens to students is say, I want to go back and read the problem again to see if it makes any sense whatsoever. So I'm going to say, I'm done with my work. I'm going to erase this over here. Everything's written in the blue area for that you need. I wrote everything down. I wrote this down. I wrote this down. I wrote this down. What I didn't write down is my algebra work over here. But my algebra work resulted in these results. So what I would recommend you do is, you might be unsure of what you just read, but I want to see if what I read is what they say. So what did they say? There's two numbers. Now I realize I got two numbers, and one is smaller and one is larger. And do those two numbers add up to 197? Let me write this down for you. 168. I'm checking with the reading now. Well, that would be 17. Let's see, 6, 8, 9, 197. So this worked, all right? So I'm going to say that I feel good about that. Let me erase this over here. I'm just checking. Now, I got to be honest with you. The reading of this part over here might be really tough. And I'm going to write this down now for you. By reading that, you're going to start to appreciate the words more. So it says the smaller is contained in the greater. Well, that sounds like a division problem to me. What's the smaller? 29 is contained in the greater. What's greater? 168. Well, I want to see if that's what they said. They said it goes in 5 times. Well, let's say, what's 5 times 29? That's 145. What's the remainder there? As they said, 23. And this worked out beautifully. So it's contained there 5 times, and it does have a remainder of 23. So again, my recommendation to you is, and let me go through that recommendation again for you. When you're working these problems over here, my recommendation, piece of paper, pencil or pen, try to solve the problem. After you solve the problem, if you're satisfied with the answers that are being provided, good for you, if you're satisfied with that. Now, hopefully you're using algebra and nothing else. And then, of course, if you're reading it, and let's say you don't really get to an answer, what I would recommend is reading through what I have in the blue area, reading through that, trying to make sense out of it. All right? Now, if you can't make sense out of it, that's why you'd be watching the videos. All right? And again, I want to claim, maybe after, you reading it paper and pencil, or looking at the blue area, looking at the videos, you're still confused. You know what? Reach out to me. What's my name? Ron Bannon. And my email address is Bannon, B as in boy, the @ symbol, NNON.US. Now, granted, I may be overwhelmed. I may not be able to respond to you. But who knows? Maybe I can respond to you. All right? Maybe I'll respond to you. All right? I always say if I'm not overwhelmed, I do respond. I respond to a lot of people, but the bottom line is, a lot of people could turn into too many people. All right? So hopefully you're going to work further. And I have to be honest with you, Wells's problems can be quite challenging as you start to work through the problem set. And you want to work through every single problem that you can. Thank you.